thank you for coming here. We're very proud to have you and to introduce this program. Tara did mention that I currently live in North Carolina. I was born in Pittsburgh, spent some time growing up in Chicago, but mostly in Bergen County. So if you think I talk funny, you're not imagining that. So these are the four big buckets that we're going to talk about this morning. Why would we be doing this pilot in the first place? The New Jersey Clean Energy Program has plenty of initiatives, plenty of options. Rupa and her team keep us very busy, but yet this pilot is underway. And so we'll share a few of the reasons why about that. The details and the incentive amounts and the process are going to be presented by my partner, Lee. Before this morning's meeting, can I just see a show of hands? How many people have heard of the TRC companies? Oh, wow. Okay, that's great. In most rooms, maybe one or two people will raise their hands. I like to think of TRC as 7,000 incredibly smart people and me. And we do all sorts of interesting stuff in the field of energy and energy efficiency. And one of our favorite assignments is the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. And this decarbonization program is particularly exciting. We've talked about this goal of 100% clean energy by 2035. And many of the programs that we work on are incentivizing reductions in energy usage. So you reduce your energy consumption by X number of kilowatts or therms, and that's worth a certain amount of money. Or you do this and reduce energy, et cetera. But really, at the end of the day, the measure in 2035 is not going to be how little electricity are you using. The measure is going to be how clean is the energy that is being used. Okay, and what are we doing here? We can't try to lose weight and measure ourselves by donuts avoided, right? So what we're doing here is really focusing on the thing we care about most. And I'm sure we've all been to a million meetings where somebody says, if you want to change something, you have to measure it. And so this pilot is an experiment in measuring what we really care about. And we are going to learn a whole lot along the way. If we could go to the next one here. The Large Energy User Program is the sort of origin space for this pilot. And if you go to the Clean Energy website, you'll see that the Large Energy Users Program is designed to promote self-investment in energy efficiency. Okay, and historically, really that all meant energy efficiency, focus on energy efficiency. But with this pilot, what we're saying is that the typo didn't get fixed, is that rather than just simply focusing on energy efficiency, we want to focus on combined heat and power, on EV charging, on on-site renewables and storage and beneficial electrification, right? All of those things are going to contribute to a much cleaner New Jersey. And with that, I would like to introduce one of the 7,000 smart people at TRC to take you through the details. Lee, if you could join us.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. I see a lot of familiar faces here and new ones. Hope to be speaking with you all soon about this pilot. So, as Tara said, I have the exciting job of telling you about all the incentives offered through this program, how to get started. So we'll get to all the good stuff in just a second, but first I want to let you know about our goals with this pilot, what we're hoping to learn. I think this is going to be an important stepping stone on our path to clean energy and meeting our goals in the Energy Master Plan for New Jersey. First of all, we're looking to understand the effort and cost required to put together a decarbonization plan. We've heard that term a couple times today, and for the purposes of the pilot, what we mean by that is a plan you're going to put together with a variety of decarbonization strategies that you'll implement over the next 3 years. What does that cost? We hope to find out. We also want to understand if our incentive structure, which you'll see in a moment, encourages you to implement decarbonization strategies faster than you had initially planned. And we're also hoping to see a variety of decarbonization strategies, understand the effectiveness for being implemented in buildings in New Jersey. And we'll get to that in a second. That's a big reason why we're targeting higher education and all of you in the room here. And with all of this, we hope to learn plenty about decarbonization, which we can then roll into other programs. As Mike mentioned, TRC implements several programs throughout the state, which are largely focused on energy efficiency, but obviously all of our goals are shifting towards decarbonization. So we want to learn from here and roll that knowledge out into other programs serving other sectors. So we've talked about New Jersey's goals, our goals with this pilot in particular, and obviously many of you have goals. I think all of these colleges are here today. Correct me if these numbers are wrong, but obviously we need to do something to help you get there within New Jersey's time frame. Hearing again for the second time, we're all in this together. So again, you're probably wondering, why am I getting this special program as a representative of a college or university? And it's because of all the different things you have on campus. Variety of building types, office, dorms. I kind of am reminded of my dorm today with that fire alarm that we had to. Transportation centers, we're hearing about EV fleets bringing students and staff all around campus. There is a lot going on, very complex systems that you all have to heat and cool those buildings. Through this pilot, we're going to get to see a lot of different decarbonization strategies and learn from you through all the things that you're doing. And so for that reason, we're looking for accredited institutions of higher education with a multi-building campus, which I think is all of you here today from the list that I saw. And also to qualify for this pilot program, we're looking for your plan, again, that 3-year plan, to encompass multiple strategies of decarbonization. So not just one of those blocks that Mike had showed you. So not just energy efficiency, not just EV chargers, should be a mix of measures. So first of all, we're paying for 100% of the cost to develop that decarbonization plan, wrangling all those measures together for analyzing and figuring out what you can implement in that 3-year period. Do you need to hire an outside consultant to make that happen? You probably have a lot on your wish list for what you want to do, but might need to, again, hire a contractor consultant to get that analyzed, get that all in paper, calculate the emissions reduction savings, estimate costs. So as part of this pilot, we'll pay for 100% of whatever that costs. We'll just need a proposal that you'll get from your chosen contractor. It can be any company. There's no pre-qualified trade ally list like you may see in some other programs. This is open to any contractor or consultant that you choose to work with. Next, we'll pay $1,000 per ton of CO2 equivalent emissions for the strategies that are in your plan and you actually go on to implement. And that's going to be capped at 75% of the project cost, which encompasses material, labor, construction management, associated fees with getting those measures implemented. One important caveat here is that solar is not part of the $1,000 per ton incentive rate. Solar will continue to be incentivized through the successor solar incentive programs, or SUSI you may have heard of. Although we do want to analyze it as part of your plan, understand the carbon emissions reductions and learn from it, the incentive for that will still be handled through the existing program. So that's the main caveat there. So again, 100% of the cost to develop your plan. Hire a contractor, give us the proposal, we'll commit the incentive, and we pay for it once we get an approvable plan. $1,000 per ton of emissions. Like Mike said, what happens when we measure what we want to save? That's what we're hoping to see. So next, I want to take a second to talk about calculating emission savings. It's obviously a big chunk of your incentive payment, that $1,000 per ton. In this program, we use your existing conditions as baseline. There's no minimally code compliant or intermediate baseline being applied. We say we take you from where you are, your existing conditions, existing operations, to where you're going. Proposed equipment, proposed operation, load profiles, and whatnot. This is particularly relevant to fuel switching, obviously. Some other programs may handle that differently by setting a baseline to the fuel that you're going to. We're not doing that here. We'll also help you or whoever is putting together that plan, if it's a contractor, to leverage the emissions factors that we have in the New Jersey TRM, or Technical Resource Manual. That's going to be really important to follow. We'll provide a calculator. It's going to help you convert from, hey, I saved this many kilowatt hours. Let's equate that to CO2 emissions. And finally, the last bullet point here is we do ask that your proposed measures, if they're energy efficiency, they exceed what's in our current New Jersey Energy Code, ASHRAE 90.1, 2019. So finally, how to get started. We say getting started is easy, but that could be the hardest part sometimes. My first suggestion is to contact us, me or Mike, or both, whoever you like better. And we want to talk to you in detail about what's going on in your campus. What are your goals? We've heard some great information today. We'll hear some more from Princeton later. What contractors, consultants do you typically work with? Who might you hire for something like this? Let's set up a time and talk. And then your next goal from there would be putting together sort of broad brushstrokes of what your next 3 years is going to look like. Engage that contractor, get that proposal. And at that point, you're ready to submit your initial application to officially enter the program. There's many more details. We make it look easy in these little graphics, but the table over here, you'll find our program guide, our participation guidelines, and then a nice little bifold brochure with the high-level details. And if you'd like to contact us, these are the digital ways, but I would suggest grab our card, just call me and Mike directly, no 866 number. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Is there a question? Timeline, sure. So there's obviously more in the program guide. When you come into the program, you'll provide us that initial application form, your proposal. We'll look it over, make sure it has everything we need. That program guide is going to show you what we need on there, basic information, who you're hiring, what's it cost, what's the timeline of delivering that plan. After the plan's approved, there's a 3 to 6 month window for getting that plan in place, but we can work with you on specifics if it's going to take longer or shorter. We want to make sure there's enough time to accommodate everything you're hoping to do. And then once your plan is approved, you have 3 years to implement those measures. And we'll pay for the incentive at the end.
The plan that's being paid for through the program, if that plan spans more than 3 years, is that still, so I can imagine a full decarbonization plan for a campus might have a time horizon of 10 to 15 years.
Right.
Would that full planning process still be paid for, even though maybe phase 1 of that, which is 3 years, is the only part that's going to be implemented in the second half of this program? Does that make sense?
It does. So the plan that we're asking for is, getting to the point of taking all the measures that's on your wish list and narrowing it down to the 3-year plan. Realize that may be just a part of your bigger plan, but for the purposes of the pilot, we have to draw the box somewhere.
So if we don't have that bigger plan yet, we would have to somehow come up with that before we could get to that. So I'm thinking about stage 0.
Yeah. Right.
That the starting point for even starting talking about that 3-year decarb plan, we'd have to have a plan 0 in place.
And that's part of it, right? That's
okay.
exactly what we're hoping to learn through this program.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if that's a necessary cost, absolutely. In the back.
Does this apply just to existing equipment or new construction?
This is for existing equipment, existing buildings, existing operations only, so no new construction through this program. There's other clean energy programs that serve new construction. We got one here.
Yes, I noticed that in the graphic you showed that the payment for this work is at the very tail end of the job, which is not a big problem if it's, like $1 million or $1.5 million, but we do net zero work and we do near net zero work, and those programs can cost anywhere from $5 to $20 million, and then that could be a problem. So how would you handle that?
So we offer incentive payments throughout the process. There's more details in that participation guide I talked about. So first, we'll pay you or your chosen consultant for those costs of developing the plan at the point once we have that plan approved, reviewed by engineers. And then as you complete all the strategies in your plan, we can pay you in up to 3, we call them partial payments. So finish a chunk of measures, you'll get a check. Finish the next, a check. So it's not like you have to wait until the end to get all of your incentive payments.
Thank you.
Is there money available for the metering itself for to do the measurement?
Yes, I can't see who asked that. Oh, hi. Yes, if that's part of the cost, include that into that proposal.
Well, thank you.
Is there a set, I know it's up to $5 million per applicant, but is there an allocation of what the total available funding is?
Yes, so this pilot program is part of, it's a shared budget with LEUP, the Large Energy Users Program. It's $36 million, which is also in a bigger incentive bucket we call C&I buildings. So we have about $15 million set aside informally within that LEUP bucket for this pilot. We'll see what the uptake is like. There's always potential for moving things around. We'll work with RUPA and team, see how it goes.
So is this a one-year grant or a multi-year grant?
So this is, I guess, a one-time grant for your 3-year plan, your phase that encompasses 3 years. We're starting here. This may roll into future programs, but that's where we're starting with the next 3 years. In the back.
For those of us that are already involved with TRC and energy audit, how does that work? It seems like a lot of the work is already being done that would work for this pilot program, but they seem to be separate. So obviously, doing an ESCO program, an energy conservation program, checks a lot of these boxes. So I'm just wondering how those two might work together as they're kind of under the BPU umbrella.
Yeah, let's talk in more detail. You know, the existing programs, ESIP, LGEA, things like that, largely focused on energy efficiency, some water conservation. Here, we're obviously looking much broader scope for decarbonization. So you could perhaps build off of that somehow, but let's talk in more detail about that.
Following up on that question, is
thank you.
if we're already working with our incredible utility partner in PSE&G on some projects, can this be layered on top of that for the component that's our cost share?
So this cannot be layered on top of another scope of work that you've already submitted and are working through with the utilities. So this would need to be a separate scope of work, separate costs, separate savings, and whatnot. So we're not going to be able to layer those incentives on top of each other.
So,
Sorry, then, on top of what Andrew said, are you going to come in, help us identify the things that we've already not identified to help us get to a certain level?
I'm sorry, you said identify things you...
We have already started, and we're working with PSE&G on a lot of these energy efficiencies. So we take you up on your offer to get a decarbonization plan. You identify some of the things that we may have not, that we looked.
So this would require you to create your own list of what haven't I looked at yet? Do I need to hire a contractor to help me figure that out?
Okay.
Right.
So my question is, can we work in parallel using this program and then the large energy program at the same time?
You can, yes, for different scopes of work, although we would hope you would roll it all into the decarbonization plan.
Well, I need $2 billion. Do you have $2 billion?
We can tell.
Is there a particular application deadline? What is your implementation schedule?
Application deadline, none at this time. Our current fiscal year goes, is it official, Rupa? It goes until the end of 2024, so December 31st, 2024. We have a 18-month fiscal year this year. So that's our initial application deadline. The application may change, some of the guidelines may change in our next fiscal year. And you asked for implementation deadline? Is that right?
Just your overall schedule. Well, I guess if we submit by the end of next calendar year, we can be in this program, assuming there's still money left?
Yes. You'll submit your plan, we'll set it aside for 3 years.